So I just wanted to come and make a video because this has been really heavy on me today. So I'm being called to kind of go ahead and giving my testimony. I'm gonna start giving my testimony. My reason for doing this is because, for one, I'm being called to do so, which this is something that I've been knowing for a while that I was supposed to be doing, and I've been putting it off for a long time because I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. But sometimes doing things you don't want to do puts you in positions that you need to be in. Another thing is, my other reasonings for doing this is because I want other people out there that are going through some of the same stuff I have went through in my life to know that they're not alone, and this is a chaotic world. But I'm not doing this to get sympathy, so please don't come at me that way. Like I said, I'm doing it for the reasons that I stated. But I'm gonna go ahead and get into it. None of this is edited, and I'm strictly just going off the dome. I don't have my journals in front of me, but I do have journals. But like I said, I'm being called to do this right now, so I'm just gonna jump right into it. So I came from a very dysfunctional family background. I did. My mama and my daddy, they argued and fought physically when I was growing up. And I have a sister who is 4 years younger than me. Just bear with me. I am choosing to be very vulnerable right now with the world. And it might be hard for me to get this out, but just bear with me. I will get through this. Yeah, and I had a sister that was 4 years younger than me. And my mom and daddy, they fought a lot, argued a lot, tore up shit in the house, And a lot of times when my mama and daddy were doing this, I would take my little sister in our room, and I would close the door. And even today, at almost 30 years old, and this was many years ago, just me having to relive this shit by speaking it out loud, it still kind of hurt. But yeah, they used to argue and fight, and it was just very toxic. And I still remember, like it was yesterday, the butterflies and the anxiety that I would get hearing my mama and my daddy fight physically. And it just made me fucking sick. I'm a child and I'm having to see this bullshit, deal with this bullshit, and then I'm taking my little sister in the room to close the door to get away from my grown ass mom and daddy. Yeah, that was my life initially coming in. My mama and daddy did that shit for years. They fought and argued so bad It was incidents where when I was a child, CPS would come up to the school and talk to me, pull me out of my classes. Um, it was just really traumatic. I remember it was a time my mama and my daddy were fighting, and my mama blacked out on the side of the wash and dryer. And I remember it was a time my mama broke her arm on my daddy's head. This right here. She karate chopped his head and broke all of this shit. They argued one time. My mama kicked the police car window out. My daddy rolled an arm up in the window. They were always arguing, fighting, knocking holes in our house. My mama knocked the barbecue pit over outside. They were always doing something. It was just so damn much. Dealing with that bullshit. It just stresses me out to even thinking about it. But one year CPS did get involved, I remember, and my sister and I got took away from my mom and daddy. This may have been in 2004, 2005, I believe. And we had to go stay with a family member. We went and stayed with one of my mama's sisters and her 2 kids, and for the summer, and my mom and daddy could visit on the weekends, I believe. And then we end up going back with our mom after the summer. And once my mama and my daddy separated, we ended up losing our house. The mortgage was not paid. My mama, I don't know what the fuck she did. My daddy said he gave her the money to pay the mortgage. She didn't pay it. My daddy said my mama went and gambled the money. The mortgage wasn't none but $450. It was either $350 or $450. And you had a full-time job. Why the fuck you ain't pay that mortgage? Anywho, we end up, when I say we, my mama, my sister, and myself end up going to a shelter in Waco, Texas. I think it was that same summer we got took. And my mama said my daddy was beating her, which most of the time they was both on bullshit. So I ain't taking nobody's side. She was physical, but he's manipulative. So we ended up going to a shelter, and it was some of the worst time of my life. And I was a daddy's girl at the time, and not being able to see my daddy all the time really made me sick. And growing up as a child, you don't really know who's at fault and who did what and who did this and that, because you got the mindset of a child. So it wasn't until I was grown I was able to see all this shit that was really going on. But we stayed in Waco, Texas for a while, went to school down there for a while, and I would go to school and I could not eat. If I did, I would throw up because I missed my daddy so much and I was just out of place. And sometime after that, I don't remember what year it was, but after we had ended up losing our house, I remember we went to go stay with my granny, my mom's mom. So we went from staying in a brand new house, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, to living in a home with rats, roaches, and fleas. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy at all. and we stayed